All right. So my album was Forever Changes by Love. And just with the theme of going with a classic album, I figured I would go with a very classic album. I really like this one. It's from 67, so it's very old at this point, but I just think it's one of the better albums that came out of the kind of late 60s Summer of Love type psychedelic rock movement. It really never gained the popularity of a lot of the other bands for the time, which I think is kind of surprising. It's up there with the Beatles or with the Beach Boys, I think, in quality. Definitely in musicianship, definitely lyrically. It's really well made. I think it does suffer a little bit from some dated lyrics at this point. Listening back to it again, I mean, some of it is very cliche, Summer of Love, like everyone should just be happy and, let's all smoke weed and whatever. But the way the actual music is structured with weaving acoustic guitars, interplaying with horn section and a string section, all with a really good singing, just adds to, I think, a really just well-made album. I especially really like the song, the first track, Alone Again, Or, is just an amazing opening track. And then the call to and response on Maybe the People, I think it's just fantastic. So do I give a score now or wait till later? I don't remember.
Yeah, wait till after.
All right.
Yeah, we said it. Yeah, I love this album. Love the love. I haven't listened to it in years though. I used to listen to it all the time, like when I was like in high school, like senior year, and I loved it then. And I guess yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really listened to it until now. So glad you picked this one. I've been listening to it like all the time lately now, and kind of doing some digging on like the history of the band and stuff. This is like their third album and like their last they had albums after this, but I don't think they really count. It's just kind of like it was interesting. They were such a big live band in the LA scene. I think it was LA, but they were such a big band and everyone knew who Love was. Basically they were like on their label, they wanted to get out of their contract, and they were good friends with the Doors. So they basically were like, here, we'll give the record label this rock band so we can get out, kind of a thing. So they ended up getting them on, and then the Doors blew up, and then the record label just didn't promote this record at all. So I think that's why the record didn't do well. But it sounds as good as like any Doors album. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that if they kept going and making albums like this, they would have been like as big as the Doors or any album or any group, American group. But yeah, I love it. I think the Maybe the People, that whatever really long title that.
Yeah, there's more to the title than
yeah,
that.
Maybe the People or whatever. Yeah, that song is so cool. And there's all these like Spanish influences. And so they're like a West Coast American group, so they take a lot of influences from like bands like the Byrds or like Bob Dylan. Like a lot of West Coast groups weren't doing a lot of like blues rock kind of stuff at that time. So and like the psychedelic lyrics. I mean, the main guy, Arthur Lee, was like a poet, kind of like Jim Morrison. He was basically, the Doors were trying to be Love. Like this guy was like a poet, and the band was just like a really great band. So that's all I got to say. I love this.
You know more about it than I do. And
I got a little obsessed. I got really into it. I started doing a little research.
You don't have Wikipedia on the other screen or anything?
Yeah, I'm just reading. Yeah, I love it.
That was great. I've actually never heard of this band. I consider myself pretty well educated with classic rock. I'd never even heard of them before. So a really cool album to listen to. It was really like just like chilled out 60s rock. It felt so 60s listening to it, like listening to the lyrics and like just kind of the melodies. It just like felt like, oh, this like absolutely came out in the 60s. I don't really know how else to describe it other than that, but it felt like a nice like album that you'd put on like a Sunday morning, waking up, very peaceful. It makes sense what you said about the lead singer being a poet. It just feels very lyrical, and like the lyrics are really deep, and just lyric based. A lot of the songs like are based on those lyrics. So yeah, very very good album. I don't know how much I'll come back to it, to be honest. It was very like I might come back to it more knowing how much you guys like it. It was just a little too sleepy for me, I think, when I was playing. The Lego Star Wars, like, when I was running around, it didn't quite fit the mood of like running around, like shooting stormtroopers and stuff. But maybe I'll listen to it again on like a calm Sunday morning. I think I'll like it a little bit more.
Yeah, Matt, I pretty much agree exactly with what you said. I had never heard of them before, and it sounded very familiar to me. Maybe just because I love those like late 60s, early 70s movies, and like that's kind of just perfect for the soundtrack of some of those coming of age tales, right? And yeah, it was solid. I'm also somebody who's terrible about listening to lyrics. For me, when I listen to music, it's a culmination of kind of everything coming together: instrumentation, vocals, and the last thing that's on my mind is trying to analyze what somebody's trying to say. I was a D English student, not my strong suit. So that's something I'll definitely have to listen for again when I do get around to it again. But yeah, feels good Sunday morning stuff, and it was a nice change of pace for me. So thanks, George.
All right, so I think if the year was 1967, it would be a 10 out of 10, right? I think for its time, it was just one of the best albums ever made, I think. But listening to it, in 2022, it does come across a little dated, in my opinion. So I think that drops it to 8 out of 10. But definitely love this album. I listen to it all the time.